What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be looking right here at Matt Miller's 2023 way too early mock draft. So without further ado, let's kick into this. If you guys are new, you guys know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. If you guys want to be more involved in the community, links down in the description below. Got all that awesome stuff, including on my Twitter. If you guys check it out, as well as in the description, you guys can check out all the brand new scouting reports that keep coming out periodically. Every single quarterback is essentially done. That's going to actually be within these mock drafts you're going to be seeing in the near future. So if you guys want to stay up to date, check those out. We're going to have running backs coming in there, wide receivers, offensive linemen, all of that fun stuff. Because I read it myself, I want it to be like a 2 to 3 minute read, so you guys get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, as well as my full grading breakdown, because I think that is pretty awesome to give to you guys. And I don't have to worry about all these editors being worried about my grading scale, because most of these sports writing sites are a bunch of crap. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So starting off with the number 1 pick, Will Anderson. I can't blame him. I really can't. You know, the New York Jets, and you can never say no to the pass rush for one. If you're really at that number 1 spot, you should start considering like what the hell is going wrong on our offensive side. The weapons are pretty damn solid, and you know, there's no offensive lineman in this class that could really take it to the next level. Will Anderson is the number 1 in this class. I think Jalen Carter might be the only other guy who's kind of a freak at his position, but we'll get into that good grading scale soon enough. Very excited for that, saving the defensive line for last, because that's the most fun. It is. You just get to see these guys just totally destroy somebody day in, day out. I love that snap in, snap out. Number 2, Chicago Bears getting Jackson Smith-Njigba. It makes sense to have the Ohio State connection, but at the same time, I'm not that big of a fan of JSN. I have my top 10 wide receiver video up. You guys can check that out. Put a lot of work into those, and again, we're in the dead period, so you know, obviously it doesn't get the return that you would hope for. Regardless, I wanted to put that work in for you guys and watched a lot of tape on JSN, and I really don't think he's that special. I don't. And he's still like a fringe first rounder for me, but I do think he's in that 4.6 range, like 4.5 to 4.6. He's a very smooth route runner, but has really good hands as well. Pretty solid after the catch. There's nothing really bad about JSN. He's just extremely overrated. You know, he was a pure slot option. Yes, he showed that without Garrett Wilson, without Chris Olave, he can put up 347 yards, and that's awesome. He definitely showed out, but it just wasn't like, again, stats don't mean everything in college. And I don't know why he did that well. And again, I still think he's a very talented wide receiver. It's just at the same time, I just do not see that physical upside from him. We'll see though. Again, there's nothing wrong with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I still put him in the top of my mock drafts. I still think that he will prove my grading scale wrong, and that's perfectly fine. If he doesn't, cool. I like to be right, but I also would rather have a more fun prospect to watch. So praying that JSN actually is worth this number 2 overall pick. Probably not going to happen. If the Bears are sitting here at number 2, again, you might have to start looking at that quarterback spot and say, why the hell are things not working out? Of course, the offensive line's crap. The receiving weapons are crap. So there are more excuses. But a similar situation to the Jets, where it's like, guys, like you cannot be 1 and 2, and you guys have high ceiling quarterbacks here. It's just a weird spot. It'd be a definitely weird spot for them. So hopefully they address it correctly. I would probably go Jalen Carter if I'm in that spot, though, if I can't trade out. But speaking of Jalen Carter, number 3 to the Houston Texans. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Texans were very interested in potentially going after Jordan Davis last year. Obviously, that didn't happen because, you know, Eagles got him. But Jalen Carter's a freak. I think that he's absolutely amazing. He was better than Jordan Davis, who I had number 12 on my board. Jalen Carter might be my number 1 player in the draft when all is said and done. Probably not, but he is rivaling for that number 1 spot. He's just incredible. Again, you could go after a quarterback here, but this quarterback class is also extremely deep. Don't exactly need to do that. Number 4, Jaguars going Eli Ricks here. Now that's entertaining. I love Eli Ricks. Again, I think he was just arrested in May. So there are personality concerns at the forefront. Apparently, he's honestly not that fast. That's what Mr. Broshma was telling me. I thought he was honestly pretty fast enough. He is my number 1 cornerback in the class right now. So I like Eli Ricks. When he's going to Alabama, hopefully he actually plays. So fingers crossed. I think he's going to be a big impact there. He is. Number 5, Falcons. CJ Stroud is the first quarterback off the board. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this is another player who I'm not a huge fan of. People think I just hate on Ohio State. They're my favorite team in college football. Like, I don't know why you guys get that idea. It just means that I watch them enough to where I feel comfortable with my own opinion on them. And after watching Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave tape last year, I was pretty confident CJ Stroud was straight butt cheeks. And I watched the Utah game. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but you cannot say that CJ Stroud is a guaranteed amazing prospect. There's just no way in hell you can watch that game versus Penn State and be like, this dude's worth a number 1 overall pick. No way in hell. And yeah, is it cherry picked after one game? Sure. But he didn't have a really good game until about the end of the season. Like, there was just some really, really bad games in there. Some horrible throws that were just, there's no excuse at all. So again, that's why he's, I think, my quarterback 4. Again, it's not like I'm not trying to rip him a new one. There's nothing wrong with CJ Stroud. It's just, again, for the hype, for the precedent that is set before him, what we all think he's going to do, it's just bound to fail. And Ohio State, like, people say, oh, it's racist that you're like, there's something that if you're going to bring up Ohio State and they can't develop quarterbacks, is it just because of this, why they're going to fall? No, it's because of the fact the NFL looks at it and they're like, let's look at the track record, right? We got Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace to him, of course. That was very tragic what happened, but like, he didn't end up working out, objectively speaking. Again, let the man rest in peace. All respect to him, and I hope that his family's fine. Justin Fields not doing too hot right now. There was a lot of technical flaws. I know I got probably a lot of you guys who are Bears fans in there trying to go at my throat right now. Again, Bears are number 2 on my favorite teams. It's Steelers and the Bears. So I want to love him as much as you guys do. I just don't. It's just Ohio State doesn't seem to translate very well to the NFL. That's just the unfortunate part. And I think the NFL will realize that. So I don't think CJ Stroud will actually be at the top when all is said and done. Steelers going Keely Ringo, just released a Steelers offseason breakdown and record prediction. Guys, go check it out. I think that cornerback is probably the number 1 position to target. Again, it's so crucial now with how many offensive weapons are in the NFL that you need to have a good corner core, and the Steelers do not. And Keely Ringo's a beast. Panthers going Bryce Young here. That would honestly be a godsend. He is my number 1 quarterback in the class. There is potentially one player that could probably get over him, and he's not for, I believe, another 20 picks in this. Detroit Lions, Will Levis. Will Levis isn't even in my top 2 rounds. I just don't like him that much. Horrible mechanics, older prospect. The big arm dude who had a lot of interceptions. You know, he just wasn't awe-inspiring to me. I didn't have my jaw drop when I was watching Will Levis, and I really wanted to. I really didn't like Will Levis in more like the highlight tape format. But when you really dive in, when you look at everything in its totality, it's just not good. Not good at all. Then you got Jaron Hall here. So this was a curveball. If I'm not mistaken, he might be like 24 years old. I mean, Jaron Hall is good, but he's not a first-round quarterback. Again, he'll have 2 years of starting. That's, good enough, I guess. But I just didn't really see that type of NFL talent from Jaron Hall. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think Jaron Hall is going to be in this discussion, but you never know. BYU has a good enough squad. They also got Oregon's, I believe, left tackle or right tackle. I'm bugging. They got one of their top tackles, and that's going to be a big boost to someone like Jaron Hall, where he also is a pretty good runner, and you're going to have a much better pocket. We all know BYU develops a very solid offensive lines. So let's see. We'll see what happens, man. Number 10, you got TVD, my number 3 now quarterback in the draft class. Yes, the quarterback rankings have changed since I made my video. Just swapping 2 guys, but TVD is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think that a lot of people are saying, they're saying something like Justin Herbert was a comp for him. And I was like, whoa, let's hold our horses there. But this would be a phenomenal move for the New York Giants if they could steal Tyler Van Dyke. He just has everything you're looking for. Kind of feels like Mac Jones with a little bit more juice. So definitely somebody who I like a lot. Dolphins game, Bjorn Robinson. He did score as the top running back in the class. The only reason he wasn't by far was because he's not the best exact athlete in a straight line. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Still 7 out of 10, where 5 is average, right? Like, he is a very good athlete, but he wasn't in that top tier because of the fumbling issues, as well as not the super elite athleticism that you see with some of these backs, like obviously Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 12, Commanders, Peter Scronsky. I was actually a little bit lower on Peter Scronsky than most people, and I rewatched him, and I'm kind of now edging more towards the hype side. He has some pretty poor reps, but you do see some consistent play, especially in the run game. I do like Peter Scronsky. I don't think Washington's a team that really needs that, though. They're a team where they're going to have 3 guys deep who can all potentially start on an NFL roster. The last thing I think they need to go after is a tackle at this point. Just signed Scary Terry. But if you're at number 12 and there's some high-end quarterbacks on the board, like, I guess I'll spoil it, my number 2 quarterback, Anthony Richardson, there's no way in hell you're going to want to take Peter Skoronski rather than taking a shot on Anthony Richardson to grow under Carson Wentz. It's pretty obvious that if you're at number 12, you don't make the playoffs and you're that poor, Carson Wentz ain't your guy, and you really do need to take a shot on someone who could be a true franchise quarterback. Then you got Andre Carter here. I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched him yet, but the people who I do know who have watched him, they're just like, he's all right. So I don't think that Andre is going to be that good where he's going to be in the top 15, but hey, I'll let you guys know when I drop my video. So I'm intrigued. I want to be wrong. I would love for Andre Carter to be a badass because, again, we haven't seen an Army guy get drafted in the first round, I think, since like the 40s. So that'd be great. I'd love that. Then you got Jordan Addison out of Tennessee. Well, not out of Tennessee, to the Tennessee Titans out of USC. That'd be very intriguing. I would like that actually quite a bit because now you got Treylon Burks as well as Jordan Addison as a good duo right there. Young, dynamic, and it's just setting it up well for the future. I do think that's a pretty solid option. Offensive line also should be in this consideration. Anton Harrison. Yeah, tackle out of Oklahoma. That guy is someone to watch. He's my tackle 1 right now, I think by a good margin as well. So you guys should probably check him out. Dejuan Jones is another guy where if you just want to potentially get a big fat ass and just take a potential on somebody actually panning out, he has potential, but like the potential I gave him at the start of the year where I was putting him in the first round, no. So just want to give you guys some guys to look forward to. Hopefully you can see Dejuan Jones take a step up. Michael Mayer for the Cincinnati Bengals. Tight end is a position where wow, that is, holy crap. Wait, why are they having the Bengals at 15th? I didn't even think about this. So I haven't even thought about this draft order, but the Bengals at 15, that's a little suspect. So yeah, I literally thought, so when people were saying that, I would keep wanting to say TJ Hawkinson, the tight end on the Steelers, which is so funny because I'm a Steelers fan. I'm bugging right now, but Pat Freiermuth, when people were saying he's Rob Gronkowski, I was like, no, this Michael Mayer guy is Rob Gronkowski. So I guess that's now the new popular comp. I saw him at Notre Dame before people were talking about him. Like, that guy looks like Gronk. So he's definitely probably going to be my tight end 1. If Eric Gilbert plays, we could talk about him because he's just such a dynamic athlete at his size. But I mean, yes, I think that's a position that's lacking for the Bengals. And they've addressed a lot of the other big holes in free agency. Not exactly a position of high value unless you hit it perfectly. And if you do, then it becomes like one of the most valuable positions. Very weird. Tight end is a very weird position to evaluate because if you get a middle of the pack tight end, excuse me, it is going to be not very much of a difference from a lower end tight end. But if you get like more of that mid to high tier, the gap is tremendous on its impact. It's really weird because like solid wide receivers can make a big impact. Like med tight ends and solid tight ends don't really make as much of an impact. You just see that big jump. And Michael Mayer, I think, could do that for that team. Because again, you can see some George Kittle type production there. Philadelphia Eagles going Miles Murphy. He's a beast. He is not exactly a very fast option, but definitely somebody, like edge rusher is certainly on the books right now. So the Eagles could certainly do that. They're looking at edge in this last draft. So I think that going after someone of that talent at 16 is far from out of the question. Brian Breesy, another guy who I think would be an absolute stud. I love him on the Raiders. I think in all the mock drafts I've done, he's gone to the Raiders. Maybe one of them he went to the Eagles. Brian Breesy is just a great fit right there. New England Patriots going Kayshon Boutte, number 1 wide receiver, tied number 1, funnily enough. But Kayshon Boutte, great wide receiver overall. As long as he stays healthy and stops dropping balls, this guy's going to have a really, really good NFL career. Number 19, Eagles going Cam Smith. Oh, That'd be so good. I would love that. Like this might be one of the most perfect drafts for the Eagles. Again, we're not adding another wide receiver, or we're not going after a quarterback, which I think, again, I would swap Myles Murphy out for Anthony Richardson. That I'm just a huge fan of him. But man, I mean, Cam Smith and Myles Murphy, you can never complain about that. Two super solid weapons. I would go after Trenton Simpson as well, though. I know first round linebackers just ain't a thing for Philly, but my God, like he's like the jump is pretty huge. Talking about one of the few linebackers that should be drafted in this class, Henry Telltale to the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not exactly a huge fan of that. I would much rather go after Trenton Simpson than Henry. HTT, we'll put it simply like that. Just not a huge fan of HTT compared to Trent Simpson. And that's just my preference. I do understand that linebacker is something the Ravens should probably try to go after. Number 21, you got the Vikings, and you go with Josh Downs here. Interesting. Because again, I really love the idea of adding another weapon. The question is how realistic, how feasible is it to go after another one in the first round? I don't think it's exactly the most logical. Offensive lineman, still a potential option here. Quarterback, still a potential option here, even though you're at 21, so it means you did something. You think about it, linebacker, defensive line, potentially. There are other options, but I don't think Josh Downs is a first-round wide receiver, to be blunt with you guys, and I'm a huge fan of Josh Downs. It's a reach for him. Number 22, the Cardinals going Paris Johnson, guard now tackle for Ohio State. We'll see how that goes as well. I'm not a huge fan of him, but you can never disagree with offensive line help, and you have kind of a crybaby for a quarterback. So you have to go after offense with your first pick. Otherwise, it's just going to turn out to be a shit show. Then you got Foskey for the Texans. Definitely feels like something the Texans would do. I mean, oh man, I wasn't a huge fan of Foskey, but at the same time, I said he should stay one more year. He was a fourth rounder to me, very unpolished, but my God, at his size, he's an insane athlete. And we saw what that means this year at number 1 overall. So we'll see how it goes. I think Foskey could have a big rise. Now we got to go to Kansas City Chiefs going Habakkuk of Baldonado. I love that. So I'll just say this. I don't think that you really need to go after another edge in the first, because I do think you can have Karlaftis and Frank Clark as a good duo. But Baldonado is actually a really damn good player. So talking about him on his own, he definitely pops off when I watch versus Pitt defenses. So, again, there's not really much to improve on the Chiefs. So I think that that's not a bad move. Running back, I think should be in that equation. I really do. But for now, it is not. Then you got Trent Simpson here. You know me, I love it. And you lost Bobby Wagner. That is an A+ pick. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Antonio Johnson. He is a physical freak. I do really like Antonio Johnson to a team that can continue developing in a defensive back core. Then you got the Colts getting Anthony Richardson. You guys know my feelings on that. I love Anthony Richardson. But this is the one that I want to talk about, Jermaine Burton. So I know Broshman was smiling probably when he saw this one, but for me, I have him as a second rounder. And I thought I was high on him. I know Broshman's higher than I am, but I thought I was high. He's talked about in the first round, and he's a really good dynamic threat. I hope he continues to develop. He could definitely be in the first. Don't think he will be, but he definitely could be. And I would not be shocked by any stretch of the imagination if he takes that jump, because he's a very talented wide receiver. And I just hope that he gets the recognition he deserves. On the Detroit Lions, that'll be a really nice spot for him. 29, you got the Chargers going, the D tackle out of Baylor. I have not yet gotten to watch him yet, but I do know that obviously the Chargers were considering Jordan Davis if he were there. So yeah, I think that's definitely a position that they've telegraphed is a position they want to address. Don't think it's a bad position. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys going Noah Sewell out of Oregon. I think you should go earlier, but at the same time, linebacker just doesn't have the value it used to. And these guys have a hard time translating from college to the NFL. And Dallas Cowboys getting a 250-pound linebacker wouldn't be a very bad idea. So I definitely think that it's something they could go after. You could try to maybe address an edge rusher. Obviously, Randy Gregory, not there anymore. You could go offensive line. You could even go wide receiver. But regardless, good player. Really good player. I think he'll be ending up my top 20. Number 31, yes, FAU out of K-State. I love Felix. So this guy's a monster, really well-rounded, good size as well. This guy's going to be a stud. I haven't actually gone fully deep into the tape yet, but you look at the stats and you look at the highlights, like, holy shit. So definitely watch out. This guy could be a big riser. Then Bills going Layden Robinson. I haven't been able to watch him, but I've definitely heard a lot about Layden. Certainly could be the final piece that you need to be a consistent Super Bowl threat. They already are, but just like where people actually take you that seriously. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Honestly, again, it's way too early to say this mock draft's not good, but we all know every mock draft's not going to be good. So let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.